I have to do an intro, don't I? Where's that copy? Jeez. Oh, do we have it canned already? Here with me today is David Bishop, partner at Brick Meets Click, and we're going to discuss the latest e-grocery insight. My name is Mark. I lead the marketing team at Mercatus. David, welcome back. This
Hey,
is
glad to be back, Mark. Thanks for having me.
it's great to have you as usual. We have some new numbers, some new insights into e-grocery for May 2021. So on behalf of Mercatus and Brick Meets Click, we're going to get into it.
Awesome. Let's get started.
Perfect. So everyone's going to want to know what the magic number is for May.
Yeah, so the headline is e-commerce has declined 16% on a year-over-year basis. Obviously, we're going to expect, and we've talked about this before, as you know, that we anticipated and continue to anticipate that 2021 is going to be a choppy year. So we're going to have our ups and downs, and the month of May is one of those downs. So I think it's important to kind of put that in context. And this is one of the reasons or rationale for why many publicly traded companies are using a 2-year stack comparison. If we look at that 7 billion in context to pre-COVID, we're still 3x above that number. So we still are maintaining a large percentage of the gains that we quickly accrued early on, really kind of reinforcing the stickiness of shopping this way. With that being said, when you've grown the business in such a short amount of time by that magnitude, you can no longer dismiss or minimize or rationalize why you're not investing to grow this business. The business, for the most part, for most retailers, is north of 10%. The cracks are now going to start to expand. The focus on cost and control, as we've talked before, and gaining more control and connection with those customers is only going to become more and more important for building that sound and sustainable strategy going forward. So even besides the top line numbers down 16%, reality is we've come a long way and we're still up significantly. It's not a time to take the foot off the gas. If anything, it's time to reflect and reconcile what we're doing so that we can maintain even more of that existing business going forward.
I would think that you'll have your naysayers out there, those who are advocating for return traffic to brick and mortar for online grocery. Let me ask you this.
From a very personal perspective, I mean, who doesn't want to get out of their house and do things that they used to do? As we start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Today, 95% of the U.S. population has had at least one dose. At the end of May, it was 92%. Our average 7-day new cases is 20% lower than it was last year. But the difference is psychologically, we've gone through the winter months where we had that incredible spike. We're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And obviously, that pent-up demand as people look to seek for pleasure in whatever way, whether it's traveling, eating out, it could even be going back to the grocery store. Those people are really voting with their feet and their dollars. So it's anticipated that we would see some of this pullback, as the main driver for a lot of this initial surge in demand, at least, was concern around the virus. And as you look at people who've been vaccinated and the belief and understanding that we have today versus a year ago, there is a lot more confidence that helps to minimize the concerns that we have about that. We still practice, our social distancing. In some cases, masks are now optional. And we're seeing this play out now, that now people are trying to recapture some semblance of yesteryear. With that being said, there's still plenty of people in the core user group that really has found this a very acceptable way to shop going forward. And it doesn't appear as though that attractiveness is dissipated for them, meaning they're going to stick around, which is why we got to really figure out how do we build even stronger connections with those customers and at the same time drive the costs down so we have a more sustainable program and deliver the type of experience that people want. So it's consistent and sound with our overall omni-channel strategy.
Yeah. Speaking of omni-channel,
if we look at pickup, I mean, pickup is really the shining star here. And there's a number of reasons. If we break them into three areas, there's obviously the customer, the retailer, and the market. From a market standpoint, the U.S. has been a delivery first market. That's what most households were first exposed to or had availability to use, right? Especially 2017 with the rapid expansion of third party, their primary method of delivering or providing online orders was via delivery. Now, what we're seeing is in retailers where they offer both, and we've seen this for several years now, keep in mind, that when the customer has the choice between home delivery and store pickup, there are very strong personal preferences. Put that aside, the majority of the customers that we would consider our monthly active users tend to prefer pickup. So while it is true that home delivery is strongest in the most populated and densely populated markets, it's also true that pickup is actually more popular in those same very markets. So it really is a testament to that. Now that comes to the customer perspective, which is what's the value that is appealing to them relative to choosing pickup. And it comes to cost and control. And we've talked about that before.
Right.
And obviously from the retailer standpoint, any retailer who was in delivery only and has watched this market evolve and maybe even looked at some of our ongoing tracking research, they would see that they were only serving roughly half of the addressable market by only offering home delivery. So we're having kind of a renaissance right now of retailers continuing to backfill. So that is building the availability and the appeal to shop that way. And now when given the choice, more and more customers are choosing that. And we're seeing that across all age range. Pickup is the only segment between, including delivery and ship to home, that every age segment in the monthly active user base has gone up. You can't say that about any other method right now.
And that's a great point. And I think this comfort level that consumers have with pickup generally. I mean, we recently saw a story about Lowe's Foods, that is, putting pickup lockers in work environments, office buildings. I think the pandemic has certainly changed the perception of how people get their groceries.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great example. I mean, just co-locating that solution, that pickup depot at an office complex is a great example of extending the reach of the store, right? There are obviously some logistics, some middle mile issues they're going to have to work through, but they're essentially bringing the grocery store to that consumer. Time will only tell how that plays out, but you're going to continue to see a lot of testing and experimentation around different configurations, and some of those configurations will be lockers versus attended pickup. Some of them will actually then go into the 30-minute versus 60-minute windows. Some will be looking at the drive up versus pickup based on the configuration and the ability to comply with local ordinances. But I think we're going to continue to see a lot of innovation on the pickup side, as it's clear this is what also benefits the retailer. I mean, from the strategic perspective, offering the pickup brings the customer to you. And why is that important? Well, that means there's a latent opportunity for that person, if he or she chooses, to come into the store for that forgotten item, right? And I do this all the time. I did this most recently with a retailer where I was going to buy some things online. And then when I put it in the cart and I added the second one because of a price promo, it indicated it was an in-store only price promo. So I took it out of my online cart, but I said, you know what? It's not too much effort for me, and I want to save $5 on 20. So I'm going to go into the store. So they have ways of dealing you in. And of course, now that I'm in the store, I may be more likely to browse and pick up something else as well. So retailers have that ability, and obviously the economic value of it's pretty straightforward. It's lower cost to serve. So when you look at that, where it aligns with what the retailer's motives and objectives are with the value proposition for the customer, it's no surprise that the market's growing and going in that direction.
That's a great example. I know from conversations that we've had as a provider of e-commerce, there is certainly a strong focus on promo capabilities online linking to offline. And I think that trend will definitely continue, just in the vein that you've outlined.
Yeah, and I would just add that especially those regional grocers that have a compelling, fresh, perishable, orientation in their service departments, there are some things that are best shopped in person. Take flowers, like floral. You can obviously buy those online for delivery or pickup, but again, you're seeing an image, you're not seeing the product. It may be the hot prepared foods, and we still have yet to really crack the fourth temp zone yet. So we need to find ways of really bridging that and bringing our deli hot prepared foods to the consumer. And that's best able to be done via pickup as opposed to home delivery. So there's just a variety of things that it can unlock with that focus. Now, the good news for the retailers is they're not just offering pickup, they're also offering delivery. What we're saying is when you offer both, you'll see the consumers choose. And if they don't choose exactly that way, there may be other elements within the value prop, your fees, the way you've structured it. Maybe you still have capacity issues where people aren't getting the times that they want. So you can't just assume, oh, I've checked the box, I offer pickup. We need to really interrogate the insights and understand, where there are opportunities to even further improve. Because what's clear is, the competition isn't resting right now. They're only getting sharper and better about this, and the customer's expectations are only going up. I think the mass merchants, even in some of the markets where regional retailers are experiencing Amazon Fresh, they're introducing other features and benefits that, eventually will become part of the expectation that customers have, right? I mean, no different than with Target or Walmart, where we have constantly talked about the magical moment of coming up to the store. I mean, I think I told you the other day, and I don't like to always highlight Target, but when it comes to pickup, really no one challenges them. Went to the store, I pulled out my camera to film it, but I stopped because within 10 seconds of pulling up and putting it in park, the person was already coming out. At the same time, another car pulled in right behind me, and unbeknownst to me, they delivered to me and the car behind, all within a matter of 1 minute from the customer standpoint. At the same time, a third car pulled up, and the same process was occurring over there. So, here they are executing consistently at scale, right? Yeah. 3 cars pull up within 2 minutes of one another. In some cases, that third car could have been waiting 5, 6 plus minutes if it was another retailer. And I don't know about you, Mark, but I wouldn't be very likely to use that service again if I had to wait that long, especially if I've come to realize and expect something significantly faster.
Let me ask you, is Target demand shaping the pickup times?
So Target takes a very unique perspective with their pickups. It's essentially you order online and it'll be ready within 2 hours. So they will then notify you, and typically the notification today is coming to you within the 2 hour, maybe an hour and a half. And then it's your discretion as the customer to say, okay, do I go now, or do I go in 1 hour? Do I go in 2 hours? So part of the appeal for Target is you have control of when you visit, right? Whereas most of the other retailers, including Walmart, they would silo you into a time slot. And most retailers are using a 1 hour, although there are some regional grocers who have, I think, correctly moved to a 30-minute. But again, that the 30-minute and the 60-minute operationally do help with managing the flow and the volume and anticipating those orders. But Target has also used their technology, especially their geolocation, to really synchronize or orchestrate multiple orders at the same time. I mean, Otherwise, how else would that employee have known to batch
Right.
2 orders in the same cart coming out? It was because, the customers are now conditioned to use the app and the location services to say, yes, I'm on my way. And their algorithm says, based on the location of that device at this point, we anticipate, this arrival time. And of course, they also have the geofence around the pickup spot that, depending on the location, is 100 to 200 yards before you actually stop. That is the kind of the last line of defense before you pulled up. And then there's a notification alert that they received when you've actually pulled up. And all this is being done behind the scenes. Even though in the app it says, click I'm here when you're there. If you have your app open and your geolocation services on, you'll notice when you trip the geofence because it automatically clicks I'm here. So again, in-store staff has about a 30-second jump. The customer isn't even perceiving the wait yet. So it's those things that operationally, as you guys know, are really the secret sauce that can kind of surprise and delight the customer, right?
Well, I'm really happy that you continue to highlight Target because, as you know, in Canada, we don't have Target. We had it, we lost it, which is unfortunate.
Really, the core customer is sticking around more than anyone else. Who's the core customer? It's really that 30 to 60-year-old age groups, right? There's 2 groups there. They have seen the smallest decline in both an absolute as well as a relative basis. And that, I think, is indicative of what we knew before COVID, which is these are the households that really are in the kind of the Goldilocks zone. The life events that, especially the younger of the two, the 30 to 44, are going through events in their life that are changing behaviors. Addition of a child in a married household. Maybe it's a marriage where now we have 2 incomes. And we're reevaluating, prioritizing how we look at using our time, right? We want to spend more time with our friends and family. We may have more discretionary income. And that group, those 2 age groups, collectively represent about nearly 2/3, I should say. I think it's actually close to 60% of the monthly active user base. And their rate of usage has only marginally declined, as opposed to the younger segment and the older segment where we've seen double-digit declines, and in the case of some of them close to 20%. And I think that's a reflection of the fact that the appeal of shopping online was driven primarily by the concern for the coronavirus, right? Not news. Most people knew that. And as these people get vaccinated, they become more comfortable and confident, re-engaging with other activities that they enjoy, right? So if you're in those groups, like my parents, and you enjoy the social interaction and the sensory experience of actually getting out of your house because you're retired and seeing other people, then it's understandable you're going to be going back to the store. And if you're the retailer who was serving them online before, so long as you're now serving them in the store, that's okay. You may actually say that's preferred because it's a lower cost to serve. You've now shifted them back to the self-serve.
Right.
But I think the simple point is we need to look at who is still shopping, but also understand who isn't. So the people who have lapsed, we probably should, again, investigate what are some of the motivations for them, no longer doing that. And recognizing that if some of them are really these transitory issues related to COVID, then we don't want to focus a lot of marketing efforts to try to win them back because, we don't have the ingredients that are going to have that. It's those that have lapsed because they're unhappy with an experience that we really need to understand those pain points so that we can, again, continue to improve that operation and ultimately customer experience.
Fantastic. Before we conclude,
in our work with the retailers, we recognize that, first of all, grocery retailers are different than mass merchants. So it's really important to understand your customer And at the same time, as we start to hear a lot of these discussions about speed versus fee or delivery versus pickup, we need to ground our discussions, debates, whatever term you want to use, with facts and figures and insights. The idea of using intuition is really something we have to overcome. In fact, as you know, Mark, we talked with the retailers, there's two entrenched things that we have to overcome: entrenched beliefs and entrenched behaviors. And so one
Absolutely.
entrenched belief is this belief that we need to offer the same price online as we do in store, this notion of price parity. And of course, we can interrogate that whole topic, but we approach it from, what's the evidence suggest we should be doing? And let's make an informed decision based on that. So with that said, one of the other things that we know the retailers are really craving are sales performance benchmarks. And so this year, we're going to restart up for would be our 5th year. We passed last year because of COVID, but our 5th year of our sales benchmarking scorecard. And last time around, we had nearly 30 store banners providing us their EPOS data directly based on answering very specific critical business questions that they need to know and that we understand aren't readily or widely available elsewhere. And so we really are focused on bringing as many retailers to the table who can participate in sharing information so that we in turn can analyze and provide a range of benchmarks back to them so that they can start to see some of the things that we've been seeing kind of before the market does, right? And that's where, again, going back to 2016, we had identified the strong preference between pickup and delivery early on and had signaled to retailers the importance of building that business. And again, that was 3+ years ago. Obviously, now we're looking at really the customer. You can say customer lifetime value, but really the engaged customer, how we acquire those customers, how do we manage the lapsed customer, and look at some of the benchmarks so that we can understand the value of improvements, right? Recognizing when we make those changes.
Yeah, and Mercatus is pleased to help support this initiative. So we're looking forward to it.
We're excited because, as I continue to say, we're all learning, and at this point, this is a 301 class in grocery e-commerce that we're writing as we go. And so retailers who are leaning forward, who recognize that there's value in collaboration, and who are open to challenging their entrenched beliefs as well as behaviors, who want the insights to inform those decisions, we welcome you to reach out to either me or Mark. We're going to be doing that general outreach here very soon. We want to have as many willing participants as possible joining the parade of retailers that we've had in the past.
Fantastic. Well, David, that takes care of the May analysis and Q&A. Look forward to doing this again next month, uncovering insights from the numbers that you're able to pull together. So thank you for your time. Be sure to check out more of David's insights at brickmeetsclick.com. And for the latest from Mercatus, check out mercatus.com. Links to all of this, as well as some additional suggested content, are in the description below. Be sure to connect with Mercatus on social at Mercatus Tech, on Twitter, and on Instagram, and at Mercatus Technologies on Facebook, and of course on LinkedIn. Please like, subscribe, and click that bell icon so you never miss a video. And thanks for watching.